plan right now is to just keep going south and see what happens. Ran out of fuel trying to take Vladivostok. Probably should have just paused for now to build a port, but I ended up deciding to force attack to take it now. Pretty much destroyed this tank division in the process, but I did end up getting it. But yeah, force attacking an out of fuel tank division probably wasn't worth it here just to get the port. Really tried to get this next supply hub too, but again, my tanks ran out of fuel. So I need to stop and build up supply. One of the few things the bot is actually pretty good at in this game is punishing overextensions. When your line goes too far and runs out of supply, the bot will counterattack and start pushing you back. We're going to be cutting off Korea next, and pushing to the Mongolian border to finish off that encirclement I mentioned in the last part. Looks like they're going for Borneo this time, and Taiwan again, of course. Taiwan changes hands like a dozen times this campaign. The subs almost handled the Borneo invasion all on their own, but they couldn't quite finish it off. The bot really wants to hold Taiwan, so it cheats hard in order to keep it. Right as I'm about to take it back, I run out of fuel, and I find that a bit strange because it looks like I should have supply, but my tanks aren't getting any. It's not even that they're just getting a trickle of supply or something like that, they're getting 0 supply somehow. It looks like I'm getting convoy rated. That's what those red supply lines in the ocean usually mean, but I'm not getting convoy rated anywhere. And if you look at those supply lines and where they're leading to, none are going into that port at all. For some reason, supply isn't being imported into Taiwan at all. There's no supply line leading there. So I stop and try to figure out what's going on here. I retreat right to the port, but again, no supply is coming in. My suspicion was that since this was technically not my home territory and instead belongs to my puppet, for some reason the game wants to use their convoys or something instead of mine. So I check and notice that they have none, so I send a few by Lend-Lease. After sending the Lend-Lease though, I hover over the icon and the game says there is no legal transport path for these convoys, so they won't get them. They don't have a capital supply hub right now, so they can't receive Lend-Lease. The bot has somehow warped reality here to ensure my tanks can't get any supply when they're on this island. I never did figure this out. Even now, I have no idea what happened here. If I were getting raided, I'd still get some supply, just a reduced amount. I'm getting 0. And I'm also just not getting raided anywhere. So I decide to brute force it. I'll push to Taipei without supply then if the game won't give me any. But right as the attack gets going, Jesus Christ himself apparently just walks across the Strait of Taiwan and takes the port. That wasn't a naval invasion. They don't have green seas. He wasn't even in a boat. He just walked across the water. So I retake it, but again, having the port doesn't do anything. Supply still isn't coming in. There is no supply line to Taiwan. I have to force attack my way all the way to Taipei. And the literal instant I take it, all the supply problems get resolved. And supply is suddenly coming into the port. I don't understand this game, and to be frank, I don't think anybody does. A lot of people claim to know how supply works in this game, but if you ever try to search the internet, when weird edge case stuff like this happens, there's never any information. All those YouTube tutorial guys and Reddit experts all of a sudden get real quiet whenever something like this happens. Why didn't the game make a supply line leading into that port? You won't find an answer in any tutorial out there that claims to explain the supply system. Anyway, supply hubs are built, so we can start pushing again over here. We're finally going to push to the Mongolian border and make that pocket. This encirclement would have been twice the size if my previous invasion of Korea had worked out, but oh well. This isn't too bad in terms of size. And again, they're taking Taiwan. You know what? They can have it. I'll take it back later. That supply incident gave me PTSD, and I don't want to have to deal with that again. Now we're going to cut off the Korean Peninsula. I usually don't like battle planning, but when the line is thin enough and I'm using an army of only tanks, it isn't too bad. I don't like the way it keeps spreading out though. The battle planner keeps extending the width of the front line, so I have to keep shortening it to keep it focused in one direction. There's probably some way to avoid that using the spearhead order instead, but to be honest, I never figured out how to use that. Every time I've tried, it did weird things. It's amazing what a difference green air makes. I lost green air here and it completely halted my tanks from reaching the coast. The cast damage is crazy. The bot is using late game design, so their planes are actually kinda strong. I make a slight mistake here though, and it makes things a lot more difficult than they need to be. The Korean peninsula isn't actually cut off right now. I have subs raiding every sea zone except for one, which is letting them still receive supply and reinforcements. The Yellow Sea here is a shallow sea, so I set my subs to avoid it earlier in the campaign, and I haven't noticed that yet. Kind of get bogged down again, so I pause and try to reassess and figure out what to do next. I build some ports on the coast to fix the supply situation first. Then I try to take this airbase up here since the bot is using it to contest the air zone, but I end up getting distracted and stop short. Using tanks and mountains is definitely not ideal, especially when the bot keeps using guerrilla tactics on me. Eventually, I decided to just attack from a new direction and try to go around the mountains instead. Definitely would have been easier if I had been using my subs in that one sea zone though, to cut their supply. Finally, I noticed the mistake and started raiding in that sea zone, and immediately I start sinking tons of convoys. But now, of course, I'm going to have to retake that port I built last time I was here. The one on the other side of that strait crossing. The one I built all the forts on. I have almost no stats, but I do have casts, and that makes all the difference. Their guerrilla tactics actually helped me out a lot here. It really reduced the amount of damage my tanks took. They really made me work for that. My mistake with the sub certainly didn't help, but they really put up a fight there. Not wanting to have to put up with resistance like that again, I decided to use a slightly different strategy for this next offensive into China. I get max planning and nuke every single tile in front of my tanks. I have a pretty large stockpile of nukes, and I didn't want to make the same mistake I made in my Ragnarok playthrough where I had a big stockpile of them at the end of the game. I have them, so I should use them. This time I don't forget to cut them off with my subs. I've been mass producing railway guns too, and I kind of forgot about them. So I had this big stack of 8 in my capital. So I decided to try and make use of those too. I've also completely reorganized all my fronts off screen. I divided them into primary and secondary fronts. Makes things a lot easier because when a unit is attacked, there's a little icon that lights up in the theater box, so you can see at a glance where the battle is if you've organized your fronts in the right way. So this way I can see if either Singapore or the front I have up in Russia is being attacked. Before, all my units were mixed, so I couldn't distinguish between locations like that. Nukes definitely make things a whole lot easier. Here I make a clone of my infantry division that uses my puppets' manpower instead of mine. China has a ton of excess manpower in this game, so I decide to try to replace all my infantry with this template instead, so I can refund a bunch of my manpower. So pretty much for the rest of the game I'll be training up as many of these units as possible in the background and replacing my own infantry with them. This time I didn't get that weird supply issue. As soon as I land, you can see that unlike last time, there's a supply line leading to the island, and my tanks don't run out of gas. I don't know what changed. Having 24 tanks is so much nicer than just having a small number like 6 or 8. You can start operating them in 2 groups and go for crazy pincer moves. It's crazy just how many units the bot has right now. Even after 50 million casualties, they still just keep coming. This is the first time they've actually tried going for Malaysia. They don't succeed, but they really could have done a lot of damage there. We made a lot of progress this time, but we still have a ways to go yet before we get to the peace conference, and we're not stopping until we get there. In all honesty, I probably could have called the campaign as a victory right here, since there's no way we lose anymore. We probably could have called it a win the moment we started pushing it from the main islands in part 2, actually. But if I did that, then there would have been a guy in the comments saying you didn't win and gave up, and we can't have that. And to be honest, I'm kind of glad I did go all the way to the end, because there's still some pretty crazy stuff that happens in the next part. Anyway, see you guys then.